Tonight, they have the top of the table in their sights, and Treviso are standing in their way of another victory. The last two times they've met in the league, the Ospreys have won handsomely. But Treviso bloodied their noses in Europe this year, and they won't be taken lightly. Hello, good evening and welcome to Scrum 5 Live. Well, the Ospreys could return to the top of the table with a bonus point victory tonight. But the last three games between these two sides in Italy have been settled by 7 points or less. So it's certainly no foregone conclusion. Joining me tonight, two men who know exactly what it's like to play and win in this league. Sean Holley, you've coached the Ospreys to 4 titles, and Rob Jones, former Wales and Lions scrum half. And talking of international players returning, we can have a look at the team now. And the big news is all the big guns are back. All 7 Wales players who featured in that final Six Nations game against Italy are in the starting lineup for the Ospreys. Tonight, the back line will be marshalled by Rhys Webb and Dan Biggar, and the three-quarter line behind them contains a fit-again Eli Walker, back after 11 weeks on the sidelines and making his 50th appearance for the Ospreys tonight. And Sean, for a man whose career has been ravaged by injuries, great to see him back.
It's great to see him back. Saw him grow up, come through the ranks, know the family. He's got huge pedigree and he's electric on the field. He lights it up, and it's something I feel the Ospreys have lacked a little bit this year, Ross. And it's hard to believe he's got 50 caps. He's been dogged by injury. And he's been touched by Wales. You know, he hasn't quite worn the shirt, but he's been in the squad. And I just feel if he can string some performances together, a good spell of injury-free rugby, then we could see him, you know, back in that World squad. Indeed,
World Cup on the horizon. That's quite a target. And let's have a look at the pack then. Alan Wynne-Jones back to lead the side, and 5 Welsh squad members in an all-international pack this evening. The likes of Dan Lydiate, Justin Tipuric, Aaron Jarvis and Scott Baldwin there. But perhaps the form player for the Ospreys right now, Sean, is that man in the back of the back row, Mr Dan Baker.
Yeah, again, you see these youngsters come through and they clearly have good physical attributes. But what's impressed me with Dan this year is the confidence and maturity he's had. It's born out of a lot of appearances in the Ospreys team with senior players. And he's almost Scott Quinnell-like, isn't he? You know, he bursts through tackles, fleet of foot, puts big hits in, and, you know, deceptively quick. You see how quick he is off the base and off the back of mauls. And he's invariably in and around the try-scoring area with a great offload. So again, you know, with a touch of lack of depth at 8 behind Toby Faletau, this is another young player we could see come through for Wales.
Scott Quinnell-esque, high praise indeed. Thanks for that, Sean. We can cross to Treviso now. Sunny Treviso, although the sun does appear to have gone down. Phil Steele is there with Carlo Del Fava. Enrico Bacchini saw yellow, which saw the Ospreys knock themselves into a 6-3 lead. A pretty dour first half, up until this final moment. Eli Walker returning after 11 weeks on the sidelines, crossing in his first game back in Ospreys colours, his 50th appearance for the Ospreys, and that's put a slightly different complexion on things at half-time. 11-3 is the half-time score. What have you made of that first half, Sean?
Well, pretty stodgy, if I'm honest. The team talk to go to Treviso away is high tempo, take it away from a set-piece fest, if you like, contestable kicks in the air and low error count. And unfortunately, the Ospreys haven't been able to develop that. There's been little variation in their attack up until the last minute or two before half-time. And I think Rob's right, you know, you'll be breathing a sigh of relief going into the half that you've got that breathing space.
Yeah, until the last minute, as you mentioned. But there were some opportunities early doors, and you thought perhaps they were going to put a bit of width on the ball and move the ball well. And we saw Justin Tipuric down the left-hand side, and then the 2 front rowers exchanging passes as well. But both of those opportunities crucially came to nothing.
Yeah, you'll always talk as a coach to players about starting well away from home and sort of quell the home crowd and the start Treviso had. And the Ospreys did have a couple of opportunities early on, and ironically, it was in the wider channels. Rhys Webb is involved 3 or 4 times in this passage of play. And Rob will tell you better than I, the scrum half's role is his support lines, and he does get on the end of this. It's a speculative pass, but the secret of the Ospreys' attacking play is their support lines from depth, and this is a chance gone begging, really, but it did, you know, develop into a 3-point penalty attempt for Dan Biggar. And ironically, it was the 2 front rowers, wasn't it, out on the wing. You can see how Scott Baldwin and Ryan Beverton. Ironically, both of these do have a little bit of pace, but it showed that if they did go through the phases and support well on the inside, there is some space in the wider channels. Again, you see the cover defence is good, and you don't really want speculative passes coming in. They need to create something a little bit more sort of cast iron close to the line to take those opportunities.
And we saw there, Sean, one of those scrums magnified. It was actually an illegal bind from the Treviso play, but because the referee had it in his mind that the Ospreys were second best in the scrums, the decision still went Treviso's way.
Yeah, technically, by the book, you have to bind long and on the body of your opposite prop, and you have to be square in your scrimmaging. You know, all of those laws go out the window when you're in such ascendancy, and Treviso have been in the ascendancy, and the Ospreys under pressure, leading to crooked feeds and Dan being on the back foot, and they can't launch their backs, and the backs are looking particularly exciting. So it's a concern. I expect Nicky Smith will come on in that second half. He made a difference the last time out against Zebra when he came on. It's not any one person's fault. There are eight people, and I'm sure Steve and Chris Gibbs are working on that at the moment in the changing room.
I think psychologically as well, Sean, you know, when your scrum is going backwards, you know, that ultimately puts pressure on the players, especially behind. There will be calls and concerns and what have you coming in, and I think we saw that. They've been frustrated a little by the defensive work, and I think the set-piece work of Treviso in that first half.
Big strength of the Ospreys is their kicking game normally as well, and as you well know, if you're on the back foot from your set-piece, your 9 and 10 can't function properly, effectively with their kicking game, and it's not until the Ospreys got those kicks into play, in contest, that they got some change out of it.
The ball went up from Dan Biggar and from Rhys Webb, and the ball came back the Ospreys' ways, and it was the 25th minute, as if a call had come in, and they started a pick and drive, Sean. Yeah,
and you see Alan Wynne does some good work here. Danley did get a bit of space because he cleans the guy out. You see him come back into picture now. They're looking to tie people in and stop the foul. And eventually that tactic, whatever the message was, led to this yellow card, another 3 points. And I think that little bit of space in the last couple of minutes probably freed them up to get the inevitable try.
And we did talk about Eli Walker before the game. First game for 11 weeks and his 50th appearance for the Ospreys, and showing that he's lost none of his predatory skills there.
Well, see, the forward passes out the back to Dan Biggar. It just creates a little bit more time for Eli in that second receiver. Watch it here now, the forward, I think Scott Baldwin passes behind the other forward. It's just that subtle variation we've just been talking about that frees up the movement and space for somebody like Eli. That's all he needs, is that little bit of time and space, and that's what he can do.
You were selling yourself a little bit short there. It was a 5-yard dash ultimately, but the build-up work was good. But there was one other try by a Welshman in that game, which was an absolute corker. Have a look at this one from Ian Evans.
Jones to the other Jones, Robert. Phil Davis in support. Now hands needed from Chalmers to Ring to Innes. Hodgkinson. Will you release Evans? Yes! That is quite remarkable. Right way back from where Ring performed his magic to the time that Evans rounded it off.
The Carmarthen cowboy himself, Ian Evans there, showing his turn of speed. And the Barbarians was made for people like Ian Evans, who had the kind of skill, the kind of pace to showcase on occasions like that.
Yeah, I remember, I was at that game. I remember going to the Australian game in '88, you know, some great tries in that. Colin Leahy scored, ex-Aberravon player, Neath centre. Yeah. You know, I grew up, my dad took me to Barbarians games. They're magic, of course. We've all grown up seeing the famous Gareth Edwards try. It'll be synonymous with the commentary from our point of view, and the rugby was fantastic. So, yeah, it gives you goosebumps whenever you see the black and white shirt.
Certainly does. So let's have a look at the table as it stands, and the Ospreys go from 4th up to 2nd as a result of that bonus point victory. They're 4 points now behind Glasgow, but of course the other teams fighting for the playoffs yet to play this weekend. Ulster take on Connaught in Galway tomorrow, and Munster travel to Edinburgh. So that could all change by the weekend, but as things stand, Ospreys sitting pretty in 2nd place. That would give them a home semi-final, Sean, and a really bizarre one, because the second half progressed. We were thinking, this is not a vintage performance, this is not what they came out to do. But ultimately, will they care now about the quality of the performance, because they've got a bonus point win?
At this stage of the season, no, and you can tell, I can hear the boys' responses, they're gunning for a home semi-final. It makes a difference. It's one thing getting in the top 4, but that home semi-final is crucial because they're so good, those sides up there. But yeah, you know, the officials tried to spoil the game, didn't they? Slow it down, and it just goes to show you play right until the end. You keep going, and when the Ospreys got some tempo, got some possession, some fluidity, a little bit of space, then you could see what they could do, and thankfully it told in the end.
Justin Tibbert, as you say, involved in the build-up to that one, and he was the architect and the scorer of the next.
Yeah, fantastic player in the loose. You know, we laud about his skills in open play, you know, in the contact area. He's tired at this stage. He's such an engine. I thought Ben John did really well to show the ball, and then ever present on the inside. We talked about the scrum half support line on the inside as well as Justin's, and then the little back on the angle. out the cap flap, as Phil Steele said. You know, it's high risk, but just shows the vein of confidence that people like Rhys Webb and Tipuric are in at the moment. And you know, to not take time over that try, celebrate, get back, as you can see here now, encouraging. They know it only takes 20 seconds to score a try, and it proved right at the end.
Absolutely. Given how they're both going at the moment, you'd have to say the Blues have virtually no chance in that one.
Yeah, it was a very similar result and performance in Ulster, wasn't it? So the scoreboard doesn't look that bad, but really they had a couple of comeback tries. The damage had been done at 36-3 or whatever. And, you know, you look at Ospreys' defence again tonight, the nuts and bolts they have with the kicking game and their defence is very hard to break down, and I think the Blues have struggled to break teams down this year. So, yeah, it certainly looks in the Ospreys' favour. They've got the bit between their teeth. They smell a bit of silverware with a home semi-final, and it's going to be a tough day for the Blues.
Excellent. Thanks for your company tonight, gents. Thanks to you too for watching at home. That's it for us for a fortnight now. Scrum 5 Live's off the air for a fortnight, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and it will be time then for Judgment Day. See you then.